The secret beneath her veil. The twin moons of Shiratin Prime cast a cold silver light across the surface of the royal garden domes. Princess Veilora of the Kyrix Dominion stood barefoot among the breathing vines, her pale lavender skin almost aglow under the bioluminescent flora. But she wasn't admiring the blossoms or tracing royal lineage thoughts. She was hiding. Pressed between the thick columns of breath leaf, she pressed a trembling hand to her abdomen. The child inside her stirred faintly, half Kyrix, half human. It wasn't supposed to happen. It couldn't happen, the ancient text said. But love had defied even the bio-laws of genetics. She closed her eyes and heard him again. His voice. That reckless, strange, warm voice. Come with me, Veil. Just one jump. One shuttle, one escape. You don't have to live under this dome your whole life. She had kissed him in defiance. She had let herself be loved. Captain Rain Mercer of Earth's diplomatic fleet, brash, stubborn, kind, and too human for this cold palace. He had believed in her when her own people only saw her crown. And now, he was gone. Banished. The king had found out. King Tazrin, Veelora's father, had flown into a rage when the royal physician discovered her condition. The child of a human. Born of a princess. It was not just scandal. It was betrayal. He had ordered Rain executed on sight, should he ever step foot on Dominion soil again. Veilora wept quietly as the vines pulsed softly around her, sensing her grief. Her father's fury was unyielding. The child growing within her was not just forbidden, it was dangerous. It carried blood that did not belong to the throne. She knew they would come for her. The moment the child's nature was confirmed, they'd send her to the ice crypts of Delvares. Her body would be kept alive, her soul frozen in royal disgrace. She couldn't let that happen. Suddenly, a shimmer broke the silence. A disruption in the outer dome, a cloaking ripple, like heat over ice. Veilora turned sharply, shielding her belly. A figure emerged from the dark. Tall. Human. His armor matte black, scarred by old skirmishes, his helmet under one arm. And when he spoke. Veil. Her heart stopped. Rain, she whispered. He looked older. Tired. But his eyes, those impossibly blue Terran eyes, burned with the same defiance that had won her heart. They're going to kill you, he said. I'm not letting that happen. She rushed to him, tears breaking free. How did you even get past their sensors? Does it matter, he said, holding her. You're coming with me. You and our daughter. Veilora froze. Daughter. He smiled faintly. I've seen the future, Veil. Or at least one possible version. And in it, she lives. She walks on Earth's soil. And no one calls her a mistake. They didn't have long. Sirens began to wail in the distance, someone had noticed the breach. Veilora stepped back, face resolute. Then we run. Together, hand in hand, they vanished into the night. Behind them, the palace burned its lights brighter, waking every hunter, every drone, every soldier of the Dominion. Because the king would not allow shame to escape alive. Fire in the veins of royalty. The shuttle's thrusters screamed through the upper atmosphere as it punched into the stars. Veilora clung to Rain's arm, her eyes flicking between the viewport and the biometric display on her wrist. Her pulse was fast, too fast, and the baby's heart rate mirrored hers. She's scared, Veilora murmured. Rain didn't take his eyes off the flight panel. So are we. But she's strong. Like her mother. Behind them, Shiratin Prime shrank into a sphere of light. Veilora felt a jagged mix of grief and relief wash over her. She had abandoned her planet. Her family. Her crown. Everything she had ever known, she had traded for a future in exile. But she had gained something too. Course set for Tellurian Outpost 7, Rain said. It's neutral space. The Dominion won't reach us there. Not for a while. How did you even know where to find me? She asked, voice still fragile from hours of crying. I never stopped watching, he said. Even when they forced me off-world, I had contacts on Shiratin. When I heard whispers that the princess was ill and vanishing from court appearances. I knew. Vealora looked away, ashamed. I was a coward. I let them chase you off. I should have gone with you then. Rain placed a hand over hers. You weren't ready. Now you are. That's what matters. The ship jolted suddenly, an alert chimed. Rain's jaw tightened. Pursuit, she asked. He checked the display. A Royal Interceptor. One of the newer models. They must have deployed it the moment I breached orbit. Vealora's stomach turned. My father won't stop. He'll have to catch us first. The stars blurred as Rain executed a barrel roll, activating the stealth shielding. The ship's hull flickered to near invisibility. But the interceptor kept gaining. This thing's faster than us, he muttered. Then we need help, Vealora said, already opening a communication port. There's someone who still owes me a favor. Rain raised an eyebrow. Who? Captain Levancourt. Mercenary fleet. He once escorted my younger brother on a diplomatic mission and I covered up a rather embarrassing incident with the Karothi ambassador's daughter. You bribed him. I blackmailed him, Vealora corrected with a faint smile. There's a difference. She sent out the encrypted pulse code. Seconds passed. Then a new blip appeared on the radar. Contact confirmed. Frigate-class vessel approaching Vector 92B. The Dominion interceptor abruptly changed course, its pilot realizing, too late, that they weren't alone anymore. Levancourt's ship deck ached with a roar. Massive, ugly, and armed to the teeth. Princess, a deep voice crackled through the comms. You rang. Keep them off us for 30 seconds, she replied. We're jumping. You got it. And tell your human boy he still owes me a drink. Noted. The stars twisted around them as the jump drive charged. Vealora took Rain's hand. I won't run anymore, she whispered. Not from this. Not from you. Not from her. Rain's voice was thick. Good. Because I don't think the galaxy's ready for what we're bringing. Then light engulfed them. And they vanished into hyperspace, chased by wrath, shielded by loyalty, and carrying the most dangerous bloodline the stars had ever seen. Shadows in neutral space. Tellurian Outpost 7 wasn't much to look at, just a latticework of oxidized alloy floating in the neutral expanse between the Dominion and the Inner Council territories. A former mining rig turned sanctuary for smugglers, refugees, exiles, and anyone else too inconvenient to exist within borders. Rain's shuttle docked with a jolt, and the airlock hissed open. The scent of coolant, oil, and a dozen alien pheromones hit Vealora instantly. She flinched. Welcome to civilization, Rain muttered. They stepped out cautiously. Rain had already cloaked the ship in the hangar's shadow fields, no Dominion trackers would catch a signal here. But safety was only ever an illusion on Tellurian 7. Vealora pulled her hood up. Her royal features were unmistakable, high cheekbones, silver-threaded hair, and bioluminescent markings that flared when her pulse rose. She couldn't afford attention. They passed through the winding markets and alleys, avoiding surveillance drones and curious stares. In her belly, the child kicked gently. It steadied her. Where are we going? She asked. To someone who can hide you, Rain said. Us, I mean. Someone who won't ask questions. They reached a grimy bulkhead with faded writing, Neela Zarek, legitimate trader, mostly. Rain knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. A slit opened. Password. Rain grinned. How about, don't shoot, I brought you something that screams. The door slid open. A stocky woman with cybernetic eyes and a prosthetic tusk grinned. Mercer, you suicidal bastard. Neela, he said. Still running scams out of a condemned station. You know me. Come in. Bring your royalty, your unborn politics, and your bad luck. Inside, the room was warmer than expected, messy, cramped, but safe. Neela threw a blanket over a couch, handed Vealora a nutrient bar, and poured something suspiciously green for Rain. So. The stories are true, Neela said, sitting. You knocked up a Dominion princess. Rain shrugged. Didn't mean to start a galactic incident. It just sort of escalated. Neela turned to Vealora. And you really left it all? The crown, the palace, your father's armies. Vealora met her gaze. For him. For her. Hell, Neela muttered. You two are insane. But she stood and activated a sealed console. I can get you new identities. There's a freighter heading to the Earth colonies in 2 days. That's your best bet. Vealora breathed in slowly. Earth. Her daughter would know oceans. Forests. A sky not filled with security drones. Then the lights flickered. Neela froze. That's not a normal glitch. Outside, the station's intercom buzzed to life. All personnel. Stand by for inspection. Dominion peacekeeper vessel approaching. Rain cursed. They traced us. No, Neela said grimly. They traced you. Vealora stood quickly. I won't let them hurt anyone here. They're looking for me. I'll turn myself in. Rain grabbed her wrist. No. We didn't come this far to lose now. Neela was already typing rapidly. I can get you to the cargo deck. Smuggle you out with the fuel shipments. But you'll need a diversion. Rain pulled out a small disk and tossed it to her. Set this off in your security hub. It'll scramble their scans. You sure this'll work? No. But it's better than surrendering to your father's executioners. Vealora placed a hand over her stomach. She deserves to be born free. Neela nodded. Then get moving. I'll stall the soldiers. 5 minutes. That's all you get. They slipped into the maintenance tunnels as alarms began to scream. 5 minutes to escape. 5 minutes before the most powerful empire in the galaxy locked its grip around them again. 5 minutes of fire. The underbelly of Tellurian Outpost 7 was a maze of maintenance shafts, broken conveyor lines, and rusted bulkheads, each humming with residual power. Vealora's breath came in sharp gasps, her fingers clenched tightly around reins as they ducked beneath flickering panels and climbed over unstable piping. The baby stirred again. She was awake. Alert. Almost there, Rain whispered. Neela said Deck 3, Hatch 14A. It's just 2 levels down. The alarms blared louder now. Dominion peacekeeper troops had docked. Vealora could feel them, not just hear them. She'd grown up with those soldiers. Their cold eyes. Their impassive voices. The way they would kneel to her in ceremony but would crush entire settlements in silence if ordered. She had never feared them until she became their target. They reached the access shaft. Rain dropped down first, scanning with his sidearm. Clear. Come on. Vealora descended as fast as she dared. But when her boot hit the ground, a voice echoed from the corridor beyond. Freeze. A Dominion soldier stepped into view, his rifle raised. Gold armor. Elite class. Vealora instinctively stepped in front of her stomach. But Rain didn't hesitate. He surged forward, striking the soldier's rifle aside and slamming him against the bulkhead. The guard struggled, but Rain was faster. Dirtier. More desperate. He disabled the soldier with brutal efficiency. Are you hurt? He asked her. Vealora shook her head. You didn't kill him. No. But if he radios in, this is over. We need to move. They ran again. At Hatch 14A, a narrow freighter bay opened before them, dim lights, crates of volatile fuel stacked like fragile towers. A loading vessel hovered silently in standby mode, its bay door half lowered. Rain Mercer, a voice crackled through the bay. Rain turned. A human. Older, with silver hair and cybernetic eyes. He stood at the freighter's entry ramp. Captain Risfendrel, he said. Neela sent word. You have 1 passenger. Pregnant. Dominion-class heat signature. I assume that's her. Vealora stepped forward. Vealora of House Tazran. Riss gave her a look. Hell of a title to smuggle out in a fuel ship. Can you take us? Rain asked. Riss jerked a thumb. Get inside. Jump sequence in 90 seconds. Once the door's shut, I don't care if your father's ghost claws at the hull. We don't reopen. Rain helped Vealora onto the ship. She barely made it up the ramp before the floor shook. Explosion. Far behind them, Neela's diversion. But they weren't alone. Shadows spilled from the far hangar door. 5 Dominion soldiers, rifles drawn, moving with precision. Go. Rain shouted to the captain. Seal it now. No. Vealora cried. You'll be trapped. He looked back once. Get her out. I'll find another way. The ramp began to close. Vealora reached for him, but the metal barrier sealed the moment her fingertips brushed his. She screamed. Inside the ship, Rhys locked controls and initiated jump prep. Strap in. You don't want to be standing when we slingshot. Outside, through a narrow viewport, Vealora saw Rain fire on the soldiers. 2 went down immediately. Then he vanished into the smoke. The ship shuddered. Engines flared. Stars twisted. And Vealora was thrown into silence, her screams muffled by acceleration. She had left him behind. Again. The child and the star path. The jump ended with a lurch that made Vealora's breath catch in her throat. The stars stabilized into pinpricks of cold light against the endless void. Somewhere, deep behind them, Rain was either fighting to survive, or already gone. Captain Rhys Fendrel didn't speak for a long time. He simply adjusted course toward the Earth colonies, inputting coordinates with grim silence. Finally, as the hum of the engine steadied, he glanced toward her. You okay? He asked. Vealora's throat was raw. She hadn't realized she was still clutching her stomach until the baby shifted against her hand. I don't know, she whispered. But she is. He nodded. We'll be in Earth orbit in 23 hours. You'll need papers. I can forge enough to get you through orbital customs. After that, you're on your own. I'll manage, Vealora said, though her voice cracked on the lie. The next hours blurred. Rhys offered her a bunk and privacy, and though she tried to sleep, her dreams were haunted. She saw Rain's eyes through smoke and fire. Heard his voice over the roar of engines. Then pain hit. Not memory, real pain. Vealora dropped to her knees, clutching the side rail of the bunk. The contractions came fast, sharp, deep in her spine. Rhys, she called out, panting. He appeared in the doorway, shock flashing in his cybernetic gaze. Now. Already. She's coming, Vealora gasped. I need help. Rhys scrambled. He wasn't a medic. He wasn't even sure he liked children. But within moments, he had emergency birthing protocols active, the ship's medcomp engaged, and a sterilized kit glowing in the corner. She bit down on the pain. Gritted her teeth through screams. Time slowed. And then. A cry. High. Pure. Loud. The sound of life. Rhys held the child like she was made of starlight. She's got your markings. Vealora reached for her daughter, tears blurring her vision. She's got his eyes, she whispered. For a long time, neither spoke. Then the console beeped. Approaching Earth orbital checkpoint, the AI announced. Rhys moved back to the controls. All right, little princess, he muttered to the baby, let's get you home. Vealora registered under a new name. Her royal identifiers erased. The child, named Alice, was documented as born to a Terran citizen in transit. No questions asked. They landed in the outskirts of Cascadia Station, one of Earth's new sea hub cities. It was rainy. Warm. Alive. Vealora stepped out with Alice bundled in a soft blanket. No throne. No crown. No guards. But her daughter cooed against her chest, and in that moment, Vealora felt more powerful than any empress. For months, she lived quietly. Rented a small loft. Learned the customs. Found work processing alien artifacts for a xenohistory lab. Nobody questioned her. Earth was too full of stories. But at night, she would sit by the window, Alice on her lap, and watch the stars. She never gave up hope. Then one evening, a knock at her door. She froze. No one knew her name. No one came without warning. She lifted Alice and backed away. Another knock. Then a voice. "Vealora, it's me." She dropped the cup in her hand. It shattered. She ran to the door and threw it open. Rain stood there, bloodied, bruised, but alive. She launched into his arms, her tears soaking his shoulder. Alice squealed with laughter. "I told you," he murmured. "I'd find another way." "How? How did you?" Neela pulled strings. "Stole a ship. Burned a few bridges. You know. Usual escape stuff." He cupped her face. "But I couldn't let her grow up thinking I didn't try." "She won't," Vealora whispered. "She'll know her father crossed stars for her." They stood together, bathed in the soft glow of Earth's moonlight. A princess. A soldier. A child born of two worlds. And a new beginning. The end.